After the first round, I did that. I sat and I thought, well, what did Howie do, and how do I feel about it? And frankly, I think what I saw out of Howie was a bit of an evolution. And I think what drives me crazy is the people who will sit and do something the same way for 20, 30, 40 years and never change and never evolve, never try to find new ways to ultimately get to where you want to be. And I felt like Howie had been that way in the past. And I what I saw here with the trade specifically to get A.J. Brown, as you said, moving up a little bit. We've seen him move up in the draft a little bit in the past to get somebody. We've seen him move down and out. The trade to get A.J. Brown was very telling to me. And
you got Mac here on Birds 365, McMullen and McDonald. Hanging with you for plenty of time here today. We've got a third party to join into the mix. Does a great job on all of the broadcasting does on Fox 29, but specifically when he's talking Eagles football, Scott Grayson good enough to jump aboard. How's your off season going, Scott?
Oh, it's been going pretty good. How about you guys? Plenty to talk about all the time, right?
Thank God for the Eagles, Scott. There's always something with this team. It usually starts with Howie Roseman, so we'll start there. What did you think of Howie's maneuverings on day one, specifically of the draft? And, trading up to get Jordan Davis, trading out to get A.J. Brown, which is one I didn't see coming, especially with the $25 million price tag on the back end. What were your immediate thoughts after that first round?
After the first round, I did that. I sat and I thought, well, what did Howie do, and how do I feel about it? And frankly, I think what I saw out of Howie was a bit of an evolution. And I think what drives me crazy is the people who will sit and do something the same way for 20, 30, 40 years and never change and never evolve, never try to find new ways to ultimately get to where you want to be. And I felt like Howie had been that way in the past. And I what I saw here with the trade specifically to get A.J. Brown, as you said, moving up a little bit. We've seen him move up in the draft a little bit in the past to get somebody. We've seen him move down and out. The trade to get A.J. Brown was very telling to me. And that was the time I said, wow, maybe this guy is evolving just a little bit and seeing a different way to go and get something. We've all seen these first round wide receivers, minus Devontae Smith, just be misses. He cannot evaluate or get the right guy in here out of college to come in and succeed. And they knew they needed another receiver. Zach Pascal, we all knew was okay. That was not the guy that was going to come in here and really move the chains down the field specifically by himself. A.J. Brown is that guy, and he went out and got a need. He got a need on the offensive side of the ball to really help Jalen Hurts. And I feel like when I stopped and looked back at it that I saw an evolving Howie Roseman, somebody who was willing to do something different to try to succeed. And frankly, this was one of the best first rounds, in my opinion, that I felt right after the draft. And we know last year they got some good players, Landon Dickerson being one of them. But you needed time to really feel that way. Here, I like what Howie did, and I haven't said that a lot in the past.
And what Jeffrey Lurie said prior to the draft was that we're kind of a now and a later team. The year before was, where he didn't use the word rebuilding, but transition. He kind of tried to measure expectations for the team, knowing they're going with Jalen Hurts and didn't know what level he's going to be able to play to. They're trying to walk that fine line this year, Scott, of worried about today and tomorrow at the same exact time. And I believed it when they said it. But when they traded for A.J. Brown, didn't they at least lean, if not move completely into the now lane? And if that's the case, if they're in the now lane, how do you not go out and get a guy like James Bradbury when he becomes available?
I agree with everything you said, although I feel that they are in the now and later. I think we're saying the now because, look, I thought about this too. A year ago, we went into the season saying we don't know what we have in a head coach. We don't know what you have in a quarterback. Hopefully, by the time we're done, we didn't know what we had in a defensive coordinator. Hopefully, by the time the season was over, we would feel better about at least knowing one way or another whether you had a guy or you didn't have a guy in any of those positions. I left the season, I don't know about you two, feeling like none of those questions were really answered well. I felt a little better about Sirianni. Wasn't sure about Gannon. All the times I kept getting frustrated with him, I felt like the argument in his case was he didn't have personnel, and that was certainly the case. Injuries certainly cost him a little bit in some of that, but they didn't have the personnel to run what he wanted to run. And then with Jalen Hurts, you could easily say, well, he didn't really have a lot of weapons around him, and Sirianni's offense at times was a little conservative. And it was one thing at the beginning of the season; it was totally different by the end. So now with AJ Brown, you're saying, yes, you have a team, you have an offense right now that I feel like between your offensive line, the weapons he now has between Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, you put Zach Pascal in the slot, Miles Sanders in the back, you got Dallas Goedert at tight end. This offense can win. The question now, and I think what you can say as far as later is, the weapons are now there for Jalen Hurts to fully be evaluated. What will he be? At the end of this season, we have to know. Either you have a quarterback or you don't, because you got the weapons around him to try to produce. As far as Gannon goes, as far as Sirianni goes, I think Gannon's now got some weapons on his side of the ball. He's got some personnel that clearly he wanted to go get. I love the pick in Nakobe Dean. I really do where they got him. I think Jordan Davis is a good get. You're showing the understanding that clearly Fletcher Cox is starting to wear down. And I would not be surprised if you see some of the revolving on the line, maybe to help make sure Fletcher Cox is effective at the end of the year as much as he is at the beginning of the year by spelling him and giving Jordan Davis some opportunities. You got Brandon Graham back. As far as Bradbury, look, they need something. And I'm fully, to me, Bradbury is the typical, go back to the way Howie Roseman has been. He's that 1 year prove it deal guy. You say, hey, we'll keep you in the division. You can light up the Giants twice. And the Eagles clearly have a need opposite Darius Slay. They do not have that position plugged yet. And you're running out of opportunities or guys you can put out there. So I would go and get Bradbury in that 1 year, maybe 2 year kind of show me deal that Howie Roseman does with guys. Bradbury did not have a great year last year, but he played for the Giants. And they were in some tough spots as a defense, and I'm willing to say go out and get him. Let him be opposite Darius Slay. And I think that would show me now too, Jody, that you are saying now if you go out and get that guy and help plug that hole on the opposite side of Darius Slay.
Well, Scott, you bring up a lot of good points about this offense and the playmakers and it's interesting, the one domino, how everything kind of fits into place. We said before A.J. Brown, they don't have enough. Now that they have A.J. Brown, they got guys all over the place. The one domino and everybody fits into their proper slot. My question to you, and Jody and I have fun with this all the time. And I look at the New Orleans Saints, and I'm looking under papers. I'm like, what am I missing? What am I missing? Mickey Loomis thinks this team is a contender. What the heck am I missing? Would you rather have that knucklehead or Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, who are always trying to serve two masters? Like, he thinks he's going to win. He loses a Hall of Fame coach. He loses a Hall of Fame quarterback. No, I'm going to win. I'm going to trade, New Orleans and half of Houston for Chris Olave, which ended up to be, because I think I have a chance to win football games this year. Which type of general manager would you rather have?
Well, I agree with you in the sense that I don't think they made the best deals down there.
They did not.
To win. And as we've seen in the NFL, one bad deal can set you back years. If you don't have the resources and the assets to be able to, fix a problem. And that's what the Eagles had. They did dig themselves a hole. And to Howie's credit, he found the assets to be able to start getting themselves out of that hole. And in everything we talked about, he rolled a first-round pick over he has 2 first-round picks next year. So he still has the ability to fix some holes and issues next year. I have not been a Howie Roseman supporter, but there's a lot of things Howie's doing that keep you from being the New York Jets, that keep you from being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the 80s. He's keeping themselves in the position to fix some problems. Now, are they going to be able to fix them to win a Super Bowl? That's a big ask. But to be able to fix them and be competitive, whether they deserved it or not, they did get in the playoffs last year with a new coach, with a new starting quarterback, with a new defensive coordinator. And, to answer your question, John, the Howie Roseman I saw this year again was a Howie Roseman that looks like he evolved a little bit. You saw Jeffrey Lurie kind of sink back a little bit into the background, where owners really should stay. Now we know he's not going to stay there. He can't stay there. He's incapable of staying there. But I saw this team really trying and making an effort to push this ball forward, to make this team better, to set itself up for success. They have Jason Kelsey's replacement ready. They've got an offensive line that is younger, that is shown to be talented. I love Jordan Mailata. That was a gold mine they found in him. They had to be patient for that to happen, but it's now here. I just, to answer your question, between those two choices, I'll take Howie and Jeffrey. And I think this team's going to do some things this year, and perhaps I'm starting to buy in a little bit too much or drinking the Kool-Aid, as some would say. But I want to see how this. I think the onus now is clearly on Jalen Hurts. You've got weapons, as I said before. Nick Sirianni, you've got weapons on offense. Show me some creativity. Get this ball to these guys in some space. Because if you're a defense, who are you going to double? Who are you going to double team now? Can't double Devontae Smith. You're going to leave A.J. Brown wide open. You can't double A.J. Brown because you should leave Devontae Smith open or Dallas Goedert over the middle. You've got some guys that can catch the balls out of the backfield. To me, guys, I think the onus and the pressure really is on Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni to produce as an offense. And frankly, now the pressure should be on Jonathan Gannon to produce as a defensive coordinator and show me some creativity on that side of the ball. And by doing that, I think the pressure is now off of Howie Roseman a little bit more than it was, say, a year ago.
All right, let's double down on something you just said. Creativity in Nick Sirianni. Last year, and I think to Sirianni's credit, when the passing game wasn't what it was supposed to be, put the blame on Jalen Reagor, put the blame on Jalen Hurts, choose whoever you want to for the passing game not being what it was supposed to be. The Eagles rightfully decided, we could run the football. It won't be exciting. It won't be creative, and Scott Grayson may get on our case for it, but we'll win football games and we'll make the playoffs. And damn if they didn't do just that. But we know the owner likes to throw the football. He believes it's a vertical game. Most people around the game believe it's a vertical game. You got to be able to throw it to win. The Eagles are going to throw it more. We know that with the addition of A.J. Brown. But if they have to run to win it this upcoming year, will we question Nick Sirianni and his lack of creativity?
If you're winning, nobody's going to question you. That's always rule number one, right? Some people will always question. I shouldn't say nobody. That's too definitive of a statement. But if there were, if we had a fourth screen on here and it was Nick Sirianni with us, 3 out of the 4 of us would say, listen, you got a new quarterback. You want to ease him into things. You kind of want to start with a tight leash and let it go out as the season goes on, build up his confidence a little bit. I'm pretty sure the 3 of us would not be throwing the ball like he was early in the season. I think he just put way too much on a brand new quarterback and frankly set him up to fail early in the season. To his credit, he did recover from that, saw the errors in the ways and found a way to move the ball down the field that was a little more productive. It was a little more sustained, found a strength in his offensive line and ran with it, literally. And I think that was, talk about evolution as I was with Howie Roseman. That showed me a guy who's not committed to his ways. And darn it, we're going to win this thing one way or another, or one way and only one way, and that's to pass the ball. He did show the ability to run the ball. Now the Eagles have a bit of a reputation as a running team, which early in the season, I would imagine these defensive coordinators are going to be scheming to try to help make sure they can stop that run. You do obviously have to pay attention to the weapon they got on the outside in A.J. Brown, as we said, but I think there's an opportunity now with a year under his belt for Jalen Hurts to become maybe more of that passing quarterback. And we can all debate until we're blue in the face whether he has the arm to do it, whether he has the vision to see the guys open downfield, because he missed guys, last year. And that was well documented. But I see in Jalen Hurts a guy who wants to be a leader, a guy who wants to succeed, and a guy who I have no doubt has been spending the offseason really, really trying to make himself better. So in those ways, I think you will see more of a passing game this year from the Eagles. When you get A.J. Brown out there, I don't know how you're not. But if you can take what you did well last year, mesh it with a better quarterback who should be more evolved in understanding the NFL game, with a head coach who's now got a year of calling the plays and running the plays with this team under his belt a little better. Guys, I mean, frankly, if it's not a better passing attack, then I think Sirianni and Hurts have failed.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. It's a little bit counterintuitive, Scott, but that week 1 game in Atlanta really hurt the Eagles because it
Agreed.
was such a success, and they thought, "Oh, we're going to be able to move the ball, we're going to be able to throw it," and then all of a sudden you're 2-5, and you go, "Oh, he's probably not ready for all this," and then you have to scale back, and the Eagles did a good job of recovering, but. Yeah, that success, that early success may have hurt the Eagles, certainly Nick Sirianni. Um, but with AJ Brown, I mean, and people say this all the time, and they're right. And they say the Eagles aren't paying Hassan Reddick $15 million to not rush the passer. So when they talk about where is he going to play, doesn't matter. You can call him Sam linebacker, edge rusher. He's going to rush the passer. So when people say that, they're 100% correct. But then they start talking about, well, are they going to run the ball? They're paying AJ Brown $25 million. They want to throw the football, and they want to throw it more. So by week 7 this year, we're talking about 2-5. By week 7, we're going to have an indication of whether Jalen Hurts is the future of this team at quarterback. Do you think I'm right or wrong?
I wholeheartedly 100% agree, John. I think you're right. By week 7 last year, we understood. Well, we were all questioning where's the identity of this team because it didn't have one. So it was around that point that they found their identity. And I think, sure, 7 weeks in now, that was partly because you had a new coach, you had a new coaching staff for the most part, you had a new quarterback. And you didn't really know what you had. Now, I think 7 weeks in with this team, a year plus under this head coach's belt and quarterback's belt, you've got to know by week 7 what you have here and what your identity is. You can't wait till week 7 to find that. No team in the NFL can wait till week 7 to find an identity, or you're sunk. I mean, they were really lucky to get in the playoffs last year. Bottom line, and what you've got this year, I'm sure you guys agree. This division is wide open. There's no reason in my mind that this team can't go win this division. I don't think the Cowboys got better. The other 2 teams in the division were so far below that, no, you don't want to ignore them, but they really should be a separating line between the Eagles and Cowboys and the other 2 teams. So this team really needs to come out of the gate, and they've got the advantage of teams not knowing, well, how are they going to use A.J. Brown? What will that do to Devontae Smith's routes and his role in some of the offense? Will that open things up over the middle for Dallas Goedert, like we used to talk about happening for Zach Ertz? And of course, the one thing that everybody always says, you got to stay healthy. And then this team certainly has to do that with those guys. But yeah, John, I wholeheartedly agree with you. By week 7, we're going to know whether Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of the future here and has a future here, or whether Howie's going to be using those first two first-round picks to find an answer to that.
Scott, are you telling me the Carson Wentz-led Commanders don't put a scare into you for this upcoming season?
That franchise is a disaster in many ways, and I don't care if they had Tom Brady in Washington. Certainly, I'd give it more respect, but I would not still think that they have a shot at doing a whole lot there. They can't get out of their own way down there. They've had some decent players in the past, and they just can't. Now, I respect Ron Rivera a ton, and I think he's had that team at least starting to turn the corner a little bit, but they've got so many issues in other places. And listen, I liked Carson Wentz, the guy. Wasn't wild. And Carson Wentz, the player, at times was okay. But you talk about evolution. You talk about having one way of doing things. I never believed in Carson Wentz after enough time passed that Carson Wentz, the leader, was never going to evolve into being the guy he needed to be in the locker room. I don't expect that to be the case down there. Seems like he's got a track record. And when you have a track record, it's really hard to change that unless you're willing to. And we all know the egos of these NFL players gets in the way of a lot of things. And I think in that case, that's the monkey on his back that I don't know he can shake.
Well, let's talk about the NFC East as a whole, expanded. You mentioned Dallas has kind of come back a little bit, losing, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson. You had the 180 by Randy Gregory. They lost La'el Collins on the offensive line. Some pretty significant talent. The Giants are, I think, one of 2 NFC teams, along with Chicago, that have kind of said, all right, we're going to rebuild this thing. new head coach, new GM. They're in a different phase. Washington, as you mentioned, sort of in this stasis. They're always trying. They just make bad decisions, and it starts with Daniel Snyder, let's be honest. It is there for the taking, the NFC East. Should the Eagles take it? I'll phrase it that way. Not can they. I think we all think they can. Should they? Are they the best team in the NFC East?
Well, yeah, I mean, you laid it out very well as far as the rest of the teams in the division. And are the Eagles the best team in the NFC East? I'm not a Dak Prescott fan, but he can throw the ball. And, I do disagree with how they handled their receiver position in the offseason. And let's face it, Ezekiel Elliott has hit that running back wall. Pollard is the better running back there. It's just, if you looked at their paychecks, it's not going to show that way. And that's part of the problem that Dallas has, is they're starting to fall on the other side of some of these bad contracts. Well, I don't know, you call it a bad contract because they got a lot out of Zeke, but they're not favorable now. And that's what they're trying to get themselves out from under. And they're hurting their team as a result. So, yeah, should the Eagles win this division? I think they should. I think that Howie has done enough and put enough on both sides of the ball, with the one caveat being, as we talked about with Bradbury, that's still a glaring hole on that other corner. And that is a big part of concern for me, whether this defense is going to be able to do enough without that piece. But Howie solved some things up front. We've always criticized the linebackers here. Now, as you said, Reddick can you talk about creativity with Gannon. I mean, you got a guy that can play multiple positions and be effective. In my opinion, you're constantly moving him to the point you're trying to confuse the quarterback, whether he's a linebacker or an edge rusher, or maybe starts in one spot and pre-snap comes. I mean, you could do a lot with a guy like that. Then you added Nakobe Dean, who I'm expecting good things out. I think they got a first-round linebacker in the third round, obviously because of injuries. And so I just look at this, John, and I say, yes, I think the Eagles really should win this division at this point. I just think Dallas has taken a couple steps backwards. And the question really is going to be, what do the Eagles do in those head-to-head games with Dallas? They have not done well in them lately. And that's going to be a big key, I think, in terms of trying to win this division. You have to beat the teams in your division in order to win it. And lately they haven't done that.
All apologies to Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave and Darius Slay and Nakobe Dean, who I'm looking to have a big Hassan Reddick is the key to this defense. Jonathan Gannon has to use him properly, and it's going to be on Hassan himself. I don't want to give him a free pass, but the production you get out of that position with that player will go a long way in dictating if the Eagles' defense is improved from year 2 of the Gannon era to year 1. You mentioned those games against the Cowboys. Thursday, we'll find out. Scott, please tell me Eagles Cowboys are not playing week 17, where one of the two teams can throw up their hands and go, yeah, we don't want to play. We'll just throw out the JV here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that has been that I would criticize the NFL for that, Jody. Absolutely. I get what they're trying to do is they're trying to have these, and you see it in the other divisions too, these division games at the end of the season, hoping that they end up with these, wow, this is a playoff game essentially. And they got some of those. But you're right. They also got some of these stinkers. I mean, you have a great rivalry that really should be a nationally televised game earlier in the season. And for the love of, everybody can see it's going to be most likely be between those two teams, the Eagles and Cowboys, for the division. Week 17, come on, no. If you want to give me week 13, week 14, okay, week 15 even, there's still something to play for at that point for all these guys. I totally agree with you. I think that is one thing that the NFL has done poorly. Like I said, I understand the philosophy and the theory, but the way it plays out has not turned into be anything good. And you end up with that. And I'm sorry, you take a great rivalry game and you flush it down the toilet for something that is meaningless. And it really sucks the fun out of what should be an intense, great game between two hated fan bases that just can't stand each other and the teams that are involved in it. And no, don't give me that in week 17 for sure. Don't give it to me even week 16. It's got to be earlier than that.
Yeah, they do need to get the Eagles and Cowboys in a meaningful slot. Leave the Giants or the Commanders
Yes.
for the
Week
final game,
17,
and
yeah.
you'll be comfortable with that. Yeah, he is Scott Grayson. You can follow him on Twitter. You see it right there at @Grayson Fox 29. Watch him on Fox 29. One of the best sports anchors in town. You see him on Props and Locks as well on Fox 29. Scott, I'll leave you with this. Are you more excited about game 5 of the NBA playoffs or the NFL schedule release? How excited are you for Thursday night NFL schedule release day?
The schedule release to me, like, isn't it crazy how they've now built this into a like
It's
full-on
amazing.
program? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's to me. Look, put the schedule out. I am interested in it. I am eager to see the order of things. I mean, the Eagles kind of spilled the beans a little bit. I think they called this game that's already out now in
Yeah, the home opener.
home
Yeah,
opener, so
Monday
we already
night.
know they're on the
Yeah.
road.
Yes.
And
Intuitive people have figured that out.
yes, I don't claim to be a smart person, but I did pick up on that. So to me, look, I will be paying full attention to the game 5. I want to see how angry is Joel Embiid, right? I expect to see an angry Joel Embiid go out there and mask or not, injury or not, whatever he's dealing with, just go over and take over that game. If I'm Miami, I'm disappointed he didn't win MVP. And for me, the schedule release, it'll be on my phone. I'll be looking at it and seeing what the order of this situation. Are the Eagles playing the Cowboys week 17? Is it a Thanksgiving game? Is it, all those things? They're playing 3 Christmas games this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different looking schedule, frankly, than we've been used to. Are they playing on Amazon on a Thursday night? All this stuff you got to figure out, but it'll be a glance at my phone. I think that's all the schedule release really needs to be. I think them throwing all this hoopla into a schedule. I mean,
dates and
it's a little
times. That's
overdone.
all we're talking about. We already
Yeah.
know the opponents. We're talking about dates and times. That's
Yeah,
it.
it'd be something different if you didn't know the opponents at this point either. But because we know that the second the season goes final, you know who they're
Yeah.
playing and where. You just don't know the order. So
He calls himself not a smart guy. That's why we have him here on Birds 365, because he fits right in with McMullen and McDonald. Scotty, good stuff. Appreciate you coming on board. We'll get you back on when we get a little closer to the season. Have a good summer, bud.
all right, you guys too. I appreciate the chance to chat with you guys again. Always enjoy it.
All right.